The stars were quiet, as they always were, floating alone on the edge of the solar system. The listening post, known as Outwatch 7 Inches, drifted through space like a forgotten machine. It had one job: listen. And it had been listening for years. Lieutenant Mara Voss sat at her station, sipping cold coffee and staring at the blinking lights. Most nights were the same: static, silence. Maybe a distant signal bouncing off an asteroid. Nothing new, nothing alive. But tonight, something changed. A red light blinked once, then again. Then it stayed on. Her fingers froze on the control panel. That light only came on for one reason. "Unknown signal," she whispered. Mara leaned forward and tapped the screen. Strange data scrolled across the monitor, old, distorted, and filled with static. She pressed her headset closer and played the sound. At first it was just noise, garbled hums, cracking, then a voice. Weak, broken, and full of fear. "They are here." Her breath caught in her throat. She turned up the volume. "It are not safe. Please, help us." The voice cut out. Silence returned. Mara's hands trembled as she replayed it. It was not human. The language was old galactic standard, a universal code, long. Abandoned after the collapse wars, no one had used it in over 200 years. Whoever sent this message came from a world lost to time, and they were dying. Mara hit the emergency alert. Back on Earth, deep beneath the ice in Antarctica, the command center for the SciFi Defenders lit up like a warship. Red lights, sirens, officers running to their stations. Commander Rex Marlowe entered the main room. Tall, battle-scarred, and always quiet. He stared at the screen, showing the signal details. "How old is it?"
Yes.
"For days," said the tech officer. "Speed of light confirms it came from Systems Island 9. That's outside the settled regions. Any known colonies there?" "None. The area was charted but abandoned after the first expansion wave. No official outposts, no patrols." "Then who's asking for help?" Rex asked. Everyone went silent. The general entered. Next, he wore polished boots and a face full of suspicion. "We don't answer ghost signals," he said. "It could be a trap. Could be scavengers faking a distress call. Pirates? Rebels?" Rex kept his eyes on the screen. He played the audio. They listened in silence. That voice. It didn't sound like someone faking anything. It sounded like someone about to die. The general turned off the audio. "Still doesn't change the fact that Earth has no business in dead zones." "I disagree," said Rex. "If someone asks for help, we send help. If it's a trap, we deal with it." The room waited. Everyone knew what it meant when Rex said we deal with it. Earth didn't send diplomats into dark space. Earth sent the Defenders. Permission came 1 hour later. The dropship Iron Howl ripped through the dark. Inside, 6 Defenders sat strapped in. Each wore black armor with no insignias, no names, just a small badge on their chest, a silver Earth surrounded by stars. Mara Voss now sat among them, not a soldier, but the one who found the signal. She had begged to come. Surprisingly, they let her. Rex sat across from her. He hadn't spoken since liftoff. "What do you think we'll find?" she asked. He looked at her with cold eyes. "If we're lucky, nothing." He didn't answer. The ship dropped out of light speed near the edge of Xylon 9. The planet below was dark brown, dusty and cracked with deep canyons. No cities, no satellites. But there were signs of something artificial near the southern ridge ruins or structures. "Maybe. Landing zone locked," the pilot said. "Brace for entry." As the ship descended, Mara looked out the window. She saw broken towers rising from the ground like bones. The land looked burnt, lifeless, and quiet. Too quiet. The ship landed. The ramp dropped. The air was thin, dry, silent. The team stepped out with weapons ready. The ruins stretched before them, massive stone buildings half buried in sand. Crumbled. Walls, shattered columns, not natural. This was once a city. Rex raised a hand. The team spread out. Mara followed close, scanning with her handheld device. Faint energy readings, faint heat signatures. Something had been here recently. They moved through the ruins like shadows. The wind whistled between the stone, sounding almost like whispers. Then one of the soldiers stopped. He knelt near a black scorch mark on the wall. "Claw marks," he said. The wall was shredded, deep gouges torn through solid rock. Too big for tools, too clean for a blast. Something had ripped into the stone by hand. "What did that?" Mara whispered. Rex looked at the mark. Something strong, something fast. The team moved deeper into the ruins. They found more signs, bodies turned to ash. Skeletons twisted in horror. Burn marks, melted metal, scattered belongings. It wasn't just death, it was slaughter. Then they found the tower. It stood at the center of the ruins. Unlike the others, it was untouched. Clean, still powered. A dim blue light pulsed at the top. The team entered, weapons raised. Inside was a strange machine, half metal. At its base, a control panel blinked weakly. Mara stepped forward. "It's a signal booster," she said. "This is where the distress call came from." She activated the panel. A hologram flickered to life. An alien figure appeared, tall, thin, with 4 arms and deep sad eyes. It began to speak. "We are the last of Calaris. The Hive has come. We begged for peace. We offered everything. But they devour, they infect, they become." The hologram crackled. "We are gone now. You who hear this, turn away or burn with us." The image vanished. No one spoke. "What is the Hive?" Mara asked. Rex answered with only 2 words. "Humanity's nightmare." Suddenly the building shook. The ground beneath them trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. The floor cracked. "Something's moving below us," one soldier shouted, then silence again. Mara looked at Rex. "Do we leave?" "No," he said. "Now we find out what else is down there." Outside, the wind had stopped, and deep beneath the ruins, something had just woken up. The wind was gone. Silence wrapped the ruined city like a blanket. Too quiet, too still. Even the dust in the air seemed afraid to move. The defenders stood outside the alien tower, weapons raised. Their sensors picked up faint tremors below. Ground felt wrong, soft in places, like something breathing beneath the surface. Lieutenant Mara Voss stared at the cracked stone under her boots. Her device blinked red. "Something's down there," she said. "Something big," one of the soldiers added. Commander Rex Marlowe looked toward the canyons to the south. "Form up. No one goes alone." "We move." The team pushed forward deeper into the ruins. Towers rose like broken teeth, casting long shadows under the dying sun. Pieces of metal and shattered machines lay everywhere, evidence of a battle. No one had survived. Then came the smell, rot, burned oil, and decaying flesh. Mara gagged and pulled her mask tighter. "This wasn't just a battle," she said. "This was extermination." The lead scout raised a fist, movement ahead. Everyone dropped to one knee, through the cracked stone walls. They saw it, something crawling low to the ground, long and black, with sharp limbs and a glowing red core. It didn't walk like a creature, move like a weapon. The thing stopped, turned, then vanished into a hole in the ground. "What was that?" Mara asked. Rex didn't blink. "A scout of the Hive," he nodded. "They don't come alone." The team moved again, faster this time. They passed what used to be a shelter now, a collapsed ruin filled with charred bones and crushed helmets. The people here had tried to fight. It hadn't worked. Suddenly the ground gave way beneath the 3rd soldier in line, Zeke. Someone shouted. Zeke fell with a scream, disappearing into a hole that snapped shut behind him like a mouth. The team ran to the spot, shining lights down, but the hole was gone. Just hard-packed dirt and cracked stone. "Signal?" Rex asked. "Gone," said the comms officer, like he never existed. Mara's heart pounded. Was that alive? The comms officer nodded slowly. The ground, it moved. The soldiers circled up. We need to pull back, one said. Get eyes from the air. This whole place is crawling. But it was too late. A screech split the air. The stone floor behind them exploded, spraying dust and rock. A massive creature burst through 6 legs, armored shell, dripping fangs, and glowing red eyes. It wasn't an animal. It was something. Built for war. The defenders opened fire. Bullets tore through the beast's armor, sparks flying. It screamed but charged anyway, slamming into the group. One soldier flew through the air, landing hard against a wall. Fall back, Rex shouted. More creatures erupted from the ground, smaller ones this time, fast and sharp, swarming like insects. They clawed and hissed, biting at armor, climbing over rubble, screaming like a hive of demons. Mara grabbed a fallen rifle and fired blindly. One of the creatures shrieked and fell, twitching. She felt a rush of fear, but also something else, anger. They had called for help. These things answered with death above them. The air cracked from orbit, the Iron Howl's automated defense system. Locked on the chaos below. Command, we're under assault. Rex barked into his comms. Send drones. We need air support now. The Iron Howl launched aerial drones that screamed down through the sky. Seconds later, fire fell from the heavens. Explosions rocked the ground. 2 of the bigger creatures turned to ash under the blasts. The swarm scattered. The ground stopped shaking. Silence again. Rex looked around. 2 soldiers dead. 1 missing. Everyone else injured. This was a recon mission, but now it was a war zone. Mara knelt beside the creature's body. This isn't just an infestation, she said. This is organized. They ambushed us. They waited, Rex added. They wanted us to land. First, to come close. He stood and looked out over the ruins. They're testing us. The sun dipped lower in the sky. Long shadows crept over the city. Deep below, the hive stirred. Watching, planning Earth had answered the call. Now, the hive knew who they were, and it was just getting started. The sun was gone. Darkness swallowed the ruined city. The only light came from the burning husks of dead creatures and the flicker of fire in the sky. The wind was quiet again, but not peaceful. It was the kind of silence that meant something was watching. Commander Rex Marlowe stood still, eyes scanning the ruined ground. He had fought many enemies in deep space, rogue AIs, warlords, scavenger fleets. But this felt different. This felt like a trap built 1,000 years ago, finally sprung. We move before they regroup, he said. Now, Lieutenant Mara Voss stumbled as she followed, the stolen alien rifle shaking in her grip. Her face was pale, blood dotted her uniform, not hers. Her ears still rang from the blast. 2 soldiers dead. 1 swallowed by the earth. She had never seen death like this. As the team passed through the broken stone street, they found something. Strange. A trail. Not human. Thin grooves in the dust, like something had been dragged. Tracks, said one of the soldiers. Leading to the canyon? Zeke? Mara asked. Maybe Rex said. Let's find out. The trail led them out of the city and toward the southern ridge of canyon carved into the planet like a deep scar. The walls were sharp and black, smooth like glass. The trail vanished near the edge. Then came the smell again. Burnt oil, acid, blood. One soldier set down a sensor probe. It blinked red instantly. Movement below, he said. Lots of it. Suddenly the rock beneath him cracked. Without warning, the canyon floor split open, and the soldier fell in. It's time they saw it. The ground didn't just open. It peeled, like skin pulled back from muscle. Beneath the surface was no dirt, just a tunnel. A wide, breathing tunnel. Lined with black organic walls, glowing faintly. Mara stepped back, heart pounding. This planet is not dead. No, Rex said. It's alive, or at least part of it is. Inside the hole, they heard a scream. Distant, human. Zeke, Mara gasped. Rex turned to his team. Ow. We go in now. No one gets left behind. The others hesitated, looking. Into the tunnel? It was dark, pulsing, wet, the inside of something alive. But they nodded. By one, they climbed down. The walls were warm, slick. The tunnel led down in a spiral. They walked in silence, every step echoing. The deeper they went, the hotter it became. Their lights reflected strange things on the wall's old bones. Melted helmets, cracked armor that didn't belong to any known species. They weren't the first to walk these tunnels, and they wouldn't be the last. After 20 minutes, the tunnel opened into a massive underground chamber. It was a hive butt, not like the insect ones from Earth. This was built with purpose. Smooth walls, hexagon patterns, soft glowing lights from organic vents above, and in the center, dozens of pods. The team stopped. The pods were tall, round, and pulsing. Some were open, some were cracked. Some were still full with movement inside. Rex raised his hand. No one touches anything. But it was too late. Mara took a step closer to a pod. Her scanner blinked green. Zeke, she said. His vitals. He's alive. Begin that. Pod. Rex came beside her. Are you sure? She nodded. I've been monitoring every soldier's signal since we landed. This is his, but something's off. Rex turned to his team. Open it. Carefully. 2 soldiers approached the pod and cut it open with a plasma knife. The shell hissed as steam poured out. Inside was Zeke. Alive. Eyes closed. Breathing. Floating in a thick green liquid. But something was wrong. He looked older. Tired, too. Still. Get him out, Rex said. They pulled him free. His eyes opened slowly. They were glazed like. He wasn't really seeing. Zeke, Mara said, grabbing his hand. Can you hear me? His lips moved. Just a whisper. They showed me things. Rex knelt beside him. What things? Their world. Their purpose. They don't just kill, they learn. They take what we are and change it. Suddenly his body convulsed. Mara screamed. Zeke's spine twisted. Skin cracked. His mouth opened wider than it should have. One of the soldiers raised his weapon. He's infected. No, Mara shouted, but it was too late. Zeke let out a scream inhuman and sharp. His body exploded outward, tentacles tearing through his armor. His face melted into something else, something Hive. The soldiers opened fire. Bullets tore the thing apart. Silence returned. Mara dropped to her knees, shaking. They're not just killing us. They're using us, changing us. They absorb memory, Rex said. They copy biology. They infect. One of the other pods began to move, then another, then all of them, back to the tunnel. Rex shouted. The team turned and ran as the chamber lit up with screams. The pods burst open one after another. His half-born creatures, twisted and wet, crawled out, some wearing scraps of armor, some looking human, but none of them were. The Hive was awake. The team scrambled up the tunnel, chased by screams and the sound of claws on the walls. A drone flew down to help, firing a bright flash bomb. Into the dark. The chamber behind them exploded in white light. They reached the surface, gasping, but the ground shook again. All around the ruins, new holes opened, new tunnels, new swarms. The Hive was no longer hiding. It was hunting. Rex grabbed Mara by the arm. Get to the ship. What about the city? He shook his head. There is no city, just a nest. From the ridge, they looked back one last time and saw it. Far in the distance, rising from the broken land, was a massive shape. A queen, towering black, with wings that shimmered. Watching them, it didn't speak, but they understood the message. You found us, and we're coming for you. They ran, through the cracked ruins, through the dust-choked wind, toward the waiting ship that hovered low over the canyon ridge, its engines humming. Ready to escape? Behind them, the Hive rose. The ground trembled. The air was filled with screeches, not just from one creature, but hundreds, maybe thousands. The swarm had been sleeping for years, maybe centuries. Now it was awake. Commander Rex Marlowe kept his weapon tight against his chest, his eyes scanning every shadow. Lieutenant Mara Voss ran beside him, struggling to keep up. She had never trained for war, but this wasn't war. This was survival. They're closing in, as one of the soldiers shouted. A flash of red light burst from the canyon wall. As a Hive scout leaped forward, long and spiny, with too many legs and a wide mouth filled with glowing teeth. The soldier fired, but the creature was fast, too fast. Rex spun, shot 3 rounds. The creature's head burst, and it dropped into the dust. "Keep moving," he yelled. They reached the base of the Iron Howl. The ship's ramp lowered. Lights flaring through the growing dark. Inside, the pilot was shouting over the comms. "You've got 10 seconds before this whole ridge collapses." The swarm was everywhere now. Claws burst from the ground. Wings sliced the air. Hive beasts ran on walls, flew above buildings, crawled out of deep tunnels. The team scrambled up the ramp. The last soldier turned to cover the rear butt. A creature grabbed his leg, pulling him down. He didn't scream, just nodded once to Rex. Rex fired a round straight into the man's chest. A mercy shot. Then the ramp closed. "Iron Howl, punch it," he barked. The ship roared into the sky. Below, the ridge cracked and fell, sending towers tumbling into the black canyon. A dust cloud rose behind them, filled with screeching creatures and glowing red eyes. Inside the ship, no one spoke. Mara sat in the back, staring at her shaking hands. "Zeke didn't just die," she said softly. "He became one of them." Rex nodded. "The Hive infects, changes DNA, rewrites it." "Then what do they want?" she asked. "Why send a distress signal?" "They didn't," Rex said. "Someone else did. Maybe the last survivor. Maybe someone who thought Earth could stop this." She looked up. "Can we?" Rex didn't answer. In orbit, the Iron Howl reconnected with its main cruiser, the Vigilance, Earth's most advanced long-range warship. The crew rushed to decontaminate the drop team, scanning them for infection, spores, or implants. All scans came back clean, but Rex wasn't sure. He'd seen the way Zeke looked just before he changed. He'd seen those glazed eyes before, on dead soldiers in old war zones, the kind who had lost something they didn't know how to name. Hours later, full debrief began. Mara, still in shock, explained everything. The ruins, the Hive tunnels, the pods. The Queen. She played the recording of Zeke's final words. "They showed me things." Then she played the Hive Queen's emergence, barely visible on camera, but towering, monstrous, and watching. Earth's high command listened from a secure channel. After a long silence, a voice replied, "Commander Marlowe, you are hereby authorized to lead Operation Severance." Rex blinked. "That's a kill order." "Yes," said the voice. "We cannot allow this species to reach our colonies. You will exterminate the Hive at the source." Rex looked at Mara, then at his remaining team. "With respect," he said, "we don't know how deep this infection goes, that Queen. It's not the only one. This isn't just a nest. It's a system." "Then burn the system," the voice replied. "Yeah. You have authorization to use all means, tactical nukes if necessary." The channel went dark. Later, alone in the armory, Rex stared at a digital map of Xylan 9. Dozens of heat signatures were blinking beneath the surface, under the canyons, spreading outward. The Hive wasn't waiting. It was expanding. Mara entered quietly. "They're scared." She said. He didn't look up. "They should be." She stepped beside him. "Been reading old files?" "The Hive. It was mentioned once before. In old scout logs. Centuries ago, ship disappeared in deep space. When it returned, there was no crew, just things wearing their faces." Rex nodded. "That's how they spread. One planet at a time. One species at a time." "But why now?" Mara asked. "Why wake up after all this time?" Rex zoomed in on a flashing beacon. "Because someone came too close." She followed his gaze. It wasn't from the ruins. It was from deeper in the system. A signal. Still active? Someone or something was calling them again? Rex turned away from the screen, strapped on his armor. "We're going back down." Mara blinked. "To the Hive, No, he said. Deeper. To the source. She hesitated. You think there's more? I don't think, he said. I know. Outside, the Vigilance prepared its weapons. Drones were loading. Missiles locked. The sky over Xylanine flickered with energy, but the Hive didn't care. In the shadows of the planet, it had already begun to spread, and Earth was no longer just watching, it was next. The drop was silent. No radio chatter, no music, just the sound of the engines humming as the shuttle dove back into Xylanine's atmosphere, cutting through the dust clouds like a blade. Inside, Commander Rex Marlowe stood at the front armor, sealed eyes locked on the display below them. The planet seethed. Hive tunnels stretched like veins across the surface, glowing red, pulsing with life. What had once been a broken, forgotten world was now alive with something ancient and hungry. This wasn't just cleanup anymore. This was war. Behind Rex sat Mara Voss, gripping the arms of her seat. She hadn't slept since Zeke died. She couldn't. Not with the memory of his transformation burned into her brain. His scream, his twisted face. The Hive didn't kill their enemies. They rewrote them. And Earth could be next. ETA 3 minutes, the pilot said, approaching deep anomaly site. That's what they were calling it now. The source. A hidden beacon. Buried deep beneath the crest older than any known civilization. It hadn't sent out the distress signal that brought them here. It had sent something older. A call. Rex checked his weapon. Mara, he said. You ready? No, she replied honestly. But let's go anyway. The shuttle hit the ground hard. Dust exploded around the landing gear as the ramp dropped. The squad moved fast, 6 soldiers, armored and armed with anti-organic rounds, flame gel, and seismic charges. They stood before a black pit. A vertical shaft, wide as a building, pulsed softly with a red glow. Like it was breathing. This wasn't a cave. It was a throat, and they were going down. Let's move, Rex, said. The descent was slow. They rappelled down using anchor lines drilled into the walls. The air grew hotter the deeper they went. The walls changed from rock to something else, slick and layered. Like scales and bone fused together, Rex touched the wall. It was warm. Mara scanned it with her device. This isn't stone. It's hive tissue. A soldier coughed. You mean, we're inside it? Mara nodded. It's not just a nest. It's a living system. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Movement. Someone shouted, a blur of motion. Then screams. Something had sliced the cable. One of the soldiers fell, hitting a ledge halfway down with a sickening crack. Another vanished into the dark below. Defensive positions, Rex ordered. But the tunnel was no longer empty. The walls began to move. Dozens of hive creatures emerged, fast, crawling sideways on the walls. They hissed and clicked, moving like liquid shadow. Gunfire echoed through the shaft. Bullets tore through them. But they kept coming. Mara fired her stolen hive rifle. It let out a sharp screech as energy bolts pulsed into the dark. One creature exploded in green mist. Another fell, twitching. But the squad was already down to 4. They reached the base, panting and bleeding, stumbling into a chamber so large it felt like a cathedral. Only this cathedral pulsed with alien life, and in its center stood the beacon. It was tall, black, a twisted monolith of bone and crystal. It glowed with a red pulse that felt almost like a heartbeat. Mara stepped closer, scanning. This isn't just a signal tower, she said. It's a transmitter. A hive mind relay. It's how they talk, how they think. Rex stared at the alien structure. Then let's shut it up. He placed a seismic charge at the base, activating the timer. 3 minutes to detonation. Suddenly, a low hum filled the air. The hive didn't like that. The walls screamed. Dozens of eyes opened. Along the chamber edges, hive drones burst. From the floor and ceiling, shrieking with rage, the ground shook, and then it arrived. The hive's guardian. It wasn't like the others. It was huge, taller than a dropship. Its arms were blades. Its chest glowed with a swirling core of red energy. It didn't crawl. It walked like it had purpose. like it remembered being something else. Before Mara stared in horror, it looks human. Half of its face was metal, the other half was a helmet, a Terran one. Rex's blood turned to ice. It was a soldier, the Guardian roared. Then it attacked. The battle was chaos. Bullets flew. Flames roared. The creature moved like a machine, slicing through cover, throwing soldiers aside. Like toys, one by one, they fell. Only Mara and Rex remained. "Fall back," he shouted. "Get to the shuttle." "Ow," she yelled. The charge, boom, an explosion rocked the room. But it wasn't the charge. It was the Guardian struck in the chest by Mara's Hive rifle, overloaded with stolen energy. The creature stumbled, chest cracked open, revealing a still beating. Organic core. Rex didn't hesitate. He leaped forward, slamming a second charge into the exposed core, and kicked off. "Go," he roared. Mara turned and ran, diving back into the shaft as the chamber behind her lit up with fire. The Guardian screamed one last, human scream, then silence. The detonation tore through the beacon. The Hive mind link shattered above ground. On the Vigilance, sensors lit up. All Hive signals. "Dropping," an officer said. "Network is down, they're blind." But Rex didn't return. Only Mara emerged, burned, bleeding, holding Rex's helmet in her hands. The Hive wasn't dead, but it had been wounded, and Earth had shown what happened when someone answered a call for help. The fury next they would return. Not to run, but to finish it. They called it a victory. The Hive's network was down. Their tunnels had stopped pulsing. Their signals, once loud and chaotic, had gone silent. Earth's command hailed Mara Voss as a survivor, a hero, but she didn't feel like one. She hadn't slept since the explosion. Commander Rex Marlowe was gone, buried under a mountain of alien flesh and fire. And even with the Hive's core relay destroyed, she knew the fight wasn't over, because something else had made it out of that pit. She felt it in her bones, in orbit above. Xyla 9. The Vigilance floated silently. Inside, the crew moved with caution, watching every scan, every readout. There was no cheering, no celebration, only waiting for the next move. Mara stood in the medbay, staring into the decontamination mirror. Her eyes were bloodshot, her face bruised. But something else was wrong, something deeper. The doctors had cleared her. No infection, no Hive residue. But she could still hear the whispers, late at night, in her dreams. Something was speaking. To her, not in words, in feelings, in hunger. "Lieutenant Voss," came a voice over the speaker. "Report to command deck. Now." She left the medbay without a word. On the command deck, the atmosphere was tense. Officers stood in a tight cluster around the holomap. Red lights blinked across at new signals. Moving ones got Colonel Sharp. The mission overseer turned to her. His voice was low and sharp. "We've got a problem," Mara nodded. "The Hive?" "No," he said. "Something worse." He zoomed in near the edge of the star system beyond Xylanine. A small moon blinked with red pulses, fast, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. "That signal is stronger than anything we saw on the surface," Sharp said. "Activated 2 hours after." The beacon was destroyed. So, the Hive called for help, Ada asked. Sharp shook his head. "Not help. A response." The room went silent. Mara stared at the blinking moon. She didn't recognize it from any logs. "What's there?" she asked. Sharp answered slowly. "We don't know. It's never been charted. But now it's waking up." They sent a probe. Didn't come back? So they sent a drone squadron. The footage returned, but only for 10 seconds. Enough to see a structure on the moon. Not like the Hive nests on Xyla 9. This one was precise, clean, designed. Like it had been built, not grown. And outside that structure were bodies. Rows of them, frozen in place. Human, or what used to be human. Mara stepped closer to the screen. Her mouth went dry. One of the frozen bodies wore a Vigilance crew patch. "That's not possible," she said. "That's our logo. Our mission." Sharp nodded. The timestamp says it's over 200 years old. Mara looked up slowly. They knew we'd come, she whispered. And maybe they'd been waiting. Sharp gave the order. A recon strike team would investigate the moon. No contact. No provocation. Just observation, Mara demanded to join. You're not cleared, he said. I've been inside the hive, she replied. I've seen what they become. You've also lost command, he said. And a lot of blood. Mara leaned in, voice low. You're sending them into something you don't understand. I do. After a long pause, Sharp relented. The ship launched that night. A small stealth craft, dark and fast. No weapons, only scanners and recording gear. Mara sat near the front, armor sealed tight, Hive rifles slung across her back as they approached. The moon, the stars dimmed. Literally, light itself seemed thinner. The closer they came, the darker space became. Like the moon was absorbing light, something else. They landed near the edge of the structure. A black tower. No doors, no windows, no windlass, smooth surface until Mara touched it. Then it opened, the walls peeled back, forming an arch inside. Gold. Air blew out, sharp and stale, like it had been sealed for centuries. They entered slowly. No sound. No movement, only endless hallways of white stone and dark veins. Architecture's not Hive, the squad leader said. This was built? But by what? Mara asked. Then they saw them pods. Not like the ones on Xylon 9. These were older, taller, sleeker, lined in rows. And inside each one, it's a body frozen in sleep. Some human, some Hive, some in between. Cloning facility. One soldier guessed. No, Mara said. This is storage for what? She stepped closer. On the pod nearest to her, a face was pressed against the glass, her own. Same scar, same suit, same fear. She stumbled back. What is this? Suddenly, the hallway lit up. A voice echoed not from speakers, but inside their heads. Cycle 419 has failed. Initiating reset. Subject Marlowe. Status preserved. Subject Voss. Status preserved. External Hive influence. Detected. Purging active anomalies. The ground began to shake from the walls. Dark tendrils uncoiled, mechanical and organic at once. The team opened fire. The bullets did nothing, one by one. The soldiers were pulled away, dragged into the walls, into the pods, into the moon itself. Mara ran hallways twisted behind her, doors closed. Time seemed to slow. She didn't know how long she ran, minutes or hours. But she found something. A room filled with files. Not digital etched into the walls. She read them, and what she learned made her blood freeze. This wasn't Earth's first mission. It wasn't even the 10th XIL on -9. Had been found hundreds of years ago. Over and over. Different names. Different faces, same result. Each time, Earth forgot. The Hive didn't. Because the Hive wasn't just a species. It was a memory. A loop. A Hive. Hiding inside time itself. Every attempt to destroy it only restarted the cycle. And now, the moon was preparing to erase them again. Mara opened her comms. This is Lieutenant Voss. Anyone receiving this? No response. She looked at the wall one more time. Her name was already listed. Cycle 420. Voss dash failed, and below that, preparing. Cycle 4-1, suddenly. The wall behind her hissed. A pod opened. Inside was someone she thought she'd lost forever. Commander Rex Marlowe, eyes closed, breathing. Waiting, the cycle wasn't ending. It was just beginning. Mara couldn't move. Her legs were locked in place as she stared into the pod. Inside, Commander Rex Marlowe slept peacefully, as if nothing had ever happened. No mission, no Hive, no death, just silence and breath. Rex, she whispered. Pressing her hand to the glass, the pod's surface was cold. It's too cold for a living person. And yet the readings on her suit confirmed it: heartbeat, brainwaves, oxygen intake. He was alive. But how? Behind her, the structure creaked. Lights flickered again, and the low hum of machinery grew louder. A voice spoke, not in sound, but in her head. Subject Marlowe. Awakening sequence initiated. Mara spun around. No stop. She reached for the control panel beside the pod. Symbols lit up beneath her fingers, Hive code, mixed with Terran symbols. She didn't understand them, but her instincts did. The symbols weren't random. They were choices. Something wanted her to choose. Let him wake, or let him stay. Suddenly, the voice returned. You cannot stop the cycle. You can only choose your place in it. Mara's hand hovered over the console. She looked back at Rex's face. Peaceful. Too peaceful. Then his eyes opened. Red. Not glowing, not. While just faint. Barely visible, but not human. Mara stumbled back. Rex, she asked, voice shaking. He blinked slowly. His hand rose inside the pod, pressing against the glass. For a moment, he looked confused. Then he smiled. Cycle 421, he said. This time we win. Mara's blood went cold. It wasn't his voice. Not exactly. It was like something was behind it. It was pushing through, speaking with him, not as him. The Hive hadn't just preserved him. They had kept him, trapped, copied, changed. Suddenly, the entire structure began to shake. Metal screamed. The walls pulsed like veins. Pods lit up across the room, activating. One by one, more bodies began to stir. Hundreds of them, all Earth. Soldiers, all long dead, all waking up. Mara ran. Through twisting halls, past rooms full of things she didn't want to see, fused creatures, half-grown clones. Experiments frozen mid-change. The Hive wasn't just rebuilding, it was recycling, trying again, correcting its mistakes, perfecting the weapon. And now Rex was part of it. She reached the outer chamber, breath ragged, hands shaking. Only one squad member was still alive, Jackson, the pilot. His face was pale, his leg was torn up, bleeding. You found him? He gasped. Mara nodded, barely. He's not the same. What do we do? Jackson asked. Mara looked at the sky. Through the open hatch above, we warn Earth, she said. We warn them before it's too late. They limped back to the dropship. Systems were failing, power low, sensors scrambled, but Mara forced the launch. As the moon faded beneath them, she looked down one last time. The surface of the structure had changed. It now showed a symbol. A hive spiral, wrapped around Earth's flag. Back aboard the Vigilance, alarms were already ringing. New signals were coming in. Not from Xylon 9, not from the moon, from inside the ship. Mara burst onto the command deck, face pale. We have to quarantine this ship now, she yelled. No transmissions. No return to Earth. Sharp stepped forward. Lieutenant, what the hell is going on? They copied us, she said. Not just Rex, all of us. They built new versions. High versions. They're coming. He frowned. Coming from where? Mara turned to the window. Behind the moon, new shapes emerged. Dozens of them. Black ships. Silent. Organic. Growing. And heading straight for Earth. This was never about saving Xylon 9, she said. It was about learning how to take us apart. Sharp stared in horror. You mean the Hive learned how to be human? Mara nodded. No, she whispered. They learned how to pretend to be us. The comm screen lit up. A voice came through. Commander Rex Marlowe. Clear, confident. Terran Protocol. Command. This is Marlowe aboard Recon Team Bravo. We've secured the target moon. Mission success. Returning home. Sharp stared at Mara, confused. How is he? That's not him, she shouted. It's a Hive mimic. Don't open. But it was too late. The signal was already streaming. To Earth, and Earth had just welcomed the enemy home. Earth cheered. The signal from Commander Rex Marlowe had reached Terran Command without delay. It was clear, calm, professional, a hero's voice, mission complete. Hive network neutralized. Returning home were parades, speeches. The media called it the final victory. Earth believed the war was over. They were wrong. High above the planet, a fleet of return shuttles approached. Silent, smooth, too perfect. They carried flags, carried uniforms, carried names, but not souls. Inside the lead shuttle, something that looked like Rex Marlowe stood in the dark. His armor shone. His face wore a smile that had been practiced, studied, copied. He turned to the others, dozens of Hive-born replicas sitting quietly in formation. "The time of hiding is over," he said. "Cycle 421 is ours." They didn't speak. They didn't need to. They were already inside. Meanwhile, far from Earth, the real Maravos was running out of time. The vigilance had been sealed. Most of the crew were dead or taken. Only she and a few survivors remained holed up deep in the maintenance decks, using old emergency tech to block Hive signals. Her eyes were hollow, her mind pushed to the edge. And yet she had a plan. She stood over a console, hand shaking. A glowing sphere pulsed before her the ship's last working AI core. "You said the Hive can't be stopped," she whispered. The AI responded, its voice quiet. "Correct, but it can be delayed." "How long?" The AI paused. "Centuries. Maybe, but it will require sacrifice." Mara nodded. "Story of my life." With a few strokes, she entered her code. Her rank still worked in the deep system. The AI warned her again. "This protocol will destroy this vessel. You will not." "Survive, I know," she said. "Would you like to record a message for Earth?" Mara thought about it. Then she shook her head. "No one's listening anymore." She activated the countdown. All across the vigilance, alarms sounded. Systems failed. Lights flickered. But deep inside, the Hive that had infected the ship felt at first a break in the loop. A glitch. For the first time, the Hive panicked. They swarmed the core chamber, but it was too late. Mara stood in the center, holding her rifle, smiling through the pain. "You forgot one thing," she whispered. "I'm not a program. I'm not a clone. I'm human." And then the ship exploded. A bright light burst into space, white-hot, silent, absolute. The vigilance was gone, and so was she. But Earth didn't know. Not yet. They welcomed the returning fleet with open arms. Crowds gathered. Families cried. Heroes stepped onto landing pads, but beneath the surface, something was wrong. The soldiers were quiet. Too quiet. They didn't blink much. They didn't smile the right way. One man looked up at the sun and whispered, "Atmosphere stable, infiltration optimal." By the time Earth realized the truth, it was too late. The Hive hadn't attacked from the sky. They walked in through the front door, pretending to be the ones Earth trusted most. And somewhere, on a distant moon, orbiting a dying star, a news cycle began to blink. Cycle 422, in progress. The Hive never sleeps. It learns. It waits. And when the cries for help echo again, it will already be there, smiling, ready, human. In appearance, but carrying the fury of something much older, much smarter, and far more patient. The war wasn't over. It had only just begun.